Hello, friends. Hello, family. How are we doing today? I hope this reading, this video, this story that's about to unfold finds you well, finds you peaceful. And if it doesn't, I hope that you feel more peaceful by the time our time together is over. My intention here is definitely to create some peace and clarity and calm, both for you and for me. So the only vision I got in my mind before I began this today was that I should start out with 2 tarot cards rather than any other type of card or any other type of way of starting a reading. I do have different ways of doing it. Also, if you're new here, which you probably are because this is a very new channel, welcome to the Divination station. We're going to tune into our brain radios and see what comes through. We are a welcoming community as we get going. We don't really have a community here, but I'm already talking about it with the we and as if there is a community here, because I figure that's a good way to let the universe know I'd like to draw that energy in, right? You know, speak the truth into being, something like that. So the first one we've got coming out is the Page of Pentacles reversed, which, there we go. I automatically felt putting the cart before the horse. The Page of Pentacles reverse can come through for me in a few different ways. A lack of growth mindset, putting the cart before the horse, hesitating to start doing something that needs to be done because you assume you know what the outcome will be and that it's not worth it. There's something about that seems to be coming through. Hesitating to invest yourself in something that needs to be done because the outcome is assumed to not be worth the effort. But I think, I haven't pulled any other cards yet, but I feel like already, whatever it is that collective is hesitating to invest themselves in, they might be right. The outcome of that one particular initial thing that needs to get started, it might not be worth how much work it is, but it's probably a stepping stone. And there's also probably internal rewards. The external result, outcome of whatever this is, yeah, that might not be, it might seem like a poor return on the investment of your energy, time, money, whatever. However, what you gain on the inside might be worth more than you are currently able to envision. I would not be surprised if we don't end up with some messages about the value of faith here. Now, sometimes that's helpful when our optimism is a little, I want to say, hazy, like obfuscated, like there's smoke in the eyes. Smoke gets in your eyes. They asked me how I knew that my love was true. Sorry. Sorry. It's a little too early in the reading to be singing that long. We also got Ace of Wands. Yeah, well, confirmation for what I was already saying pretty much there. There's a hesitation to get started on what needs to be done. I'm not sure why we'll look into that in a bit. I haven't heard any confirmation chimes. I was checking my little confirmation chime app real quick there. We'll hear them. If you haven't tuned into a reading of mine yet, you'll hear them. I'm into technology. I don't know if you can tell. I like gear. I like code. I like things I don't actually understand very much about. It's not my wheelhouse, technology. It's not my area of expertise. I don't know if I have an area of expertise. It might be a toss-up between art and music. Two totally, what's the word? Very valuable skill sets that are in no way lucrative, unless you're really lucky and really hardworking. You have to be both. You have to be both. Extremely independent as well. That tends to help, but also very well supported. Like a Nepo baby. You don't have to be a Nepo baby to succeed in art or music. I really hope to gain a follower full of artists and musicians. I don't want to thwart you. Interesting, like I said, the optimism is, your optimism here seems obfuscated, cloudy, smoke-filled. And here I come saying a bunch of cynical jokes coming through. So I get it. You're in good company, my friend. And I think because when I am cynical about something, I do tend to turn into a joke. So I don't realize, like, oh, I actually am cynical, even if I am joking about the thing. So you might find that relatable. You might have a little stumbling block there yourself. We probably all do that to a certain extent, but around different things. Different areas of life. We all have things that we're very comfortable with and things that we would rather avoid for our own personal reasons, traumas, history, personality, ability, potential, etc. So whatever you're hesitating to start, though, because it doesn't seem worth it, the Ace of Wands here, seems very much like this needs to be started. It does spark something. It's the spark from Bruce Springsteen's "You Can't Start a Fire." You can't start a fire. You can't start a fire without a spark. So that's the spark, whether you realize it or not, to start the fire. So what is this thing that collective is hesitating to start? I don't know. Spirit says that I don't need to look into that. I am feeling energies I associate with higher awareness rather than like ancestral or the ghosties kind of vibes. Sometimes they can come in with some higher awareness, but a lot of times those guys do not. Not so much. Let me look into some additional questions here from our beautiful card of questions. Beautiful card of questions. Beautiful stack of questions. I love me some questions. Oh, I keep saying I'm going to lay out a spread. Is now the time to lay out a spread? All right, I'll go for it. So I will show you the tabletop once again. The tabletop is a bit of a mess today. I had to pause the video and move things out of the way so I could zoom the camera out enough to show a layout of the cards. I clear these once again, though. Like I said, there is a smoke screen involved here for some kind of reason, and I feel like Spirit wants to ask us questions, or have us ask ourselves questions that reflecting on, for whatever reason, is going to help move, is going to clear that smoke. It's not a boulder in the way. There's nothing in the way in this path. This is a clear path that is hard to see down. that is what I'm getting. If you're resonating with this so far, then that's probably going to strike a chord in you. Okay. Oh, let's see, move these up more. I still didn't clear up enough space. That's alright. We're not here on this channel trying to be in a hurry. Hopefully, if you enjoy spending time with me, you enjoy coming in and slowing down a little bit. I'm kind of trying to... what comes to mind is the energy that I would adopt when my kiddo was little and it was time to go to bed. You know, and you change your whole body language, your tone of voice, you know, everything about your demeanor to set that vibe of rest and peacefulness and calmness and safety that helps all of us go to sleep at night. I'm also hearing that if you did not have a parent that did that with you when you were a kid, you might want to try some reparenting and do that for yourself at night. Just a moment. Aw, that was my mama. Speaking of mamas, and she's like, "It's okay. It's not urgent. Never mind." So now I'm curious. What does she want to talk about? I bet it's something good. She went and talked to the peach truck people today and got a big box of peaches from Georgia. So I'm quite excited to eat them. I never make anything out of them, though. Usually my kiddo just eats them all. We get a box from the peach truck every summer. We have for years. I'm feeling, 5. I was here in 5, so I want to put down more. I don't know why, but it'd probably get too complicated if I did that. So we're just going to start here with 5 questions and see if they're laid out and in a way that shows how certain issues, maybe in our minds and our unconscious or aspects of our life, are influencing one another. How are these things interacting? Okay, so we've got, I can zoom in a little bit. Something you judge others for because your ego or pride hides the same thing about yourself in your shadow. Yeah, I find that to be true for myself. Like if I find myself mindlessly knee-jerk judging other people about something and there's a bit of a pattern there, and it's probably because I don't want to look at something within myself that relates to that. And that's not the same thing as evaluating. You know, when we evaluate that someone is a dangerous person, they're harmful. So we have a really strong boundary. We might even feel a sense of disgust because they're just that harmful. That's not judgment. Being disgusted by someone's terrible behavior, lack of empathy, so on and so forth. That's not judgment. That's not being judgmental. That is feeling a totally valid sense of disgust that is there to keep you safe based on evaluation. Being judgmental is like you feel like you're the authority on a person's inherent worth, not just what they're worth to you in your life, but what they're like worth in the grand scheme of things. I personally don't believe that it is any individual's place to determine the worth of another soul on a level that exists outside of my reality or my life. I can judge whether or not someone deserves to have a place in my life. And if so, what place is that and how much room are they allowed to take up? But it's not even possible for me to judge what a person's worth is outside of that small number of things. I mean, I could try. I could do that, but that I would end up bitter. Then I don't want to be bitter, you know. And it's human nature to hold on to bad feelings when somebody's done something bad. Sometimes it just, and that's not a personality flaw. That is just the fact that some things take a while to work out of your system. And if you hang on to them, then okay, yeah, that could be a personal flaw. Maybe you need to work on that, you know. But at the same time, if you're working on letting go of something like that and it's taken some time, that's okay. It's taking the time that it takes. You know, some things, sometimes the synapses in the brain, well, they're very deep. It take a really long time to coax out of there and to wash out. You know, it's like some things are like a stain on a cloth, you know, and you gotta soak it out many times and wash it many times. But, you know, if you keep working on it, it comes out. It's like that. So somebody probably needs to hear that. All right, what else? We're going to look at what societal messages, like cultural constructs, have you received about what a social life should look like? Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. I can't even begin to talk on that one until we pull the cards. Let's see, how do we align our hopes and dreams with daily life? And we're also looking at how your early experiences making new friends shaped how you grew to approach socializing and networking in adulthood. That is interesting that I am pulling so much of the yellow cards. The cards written with yellow ink are all about how our modes, patterns, habits in socializing and networking, how they came into being, how they developed throughout our life. And it's a very large stack of cards. And for a long time, when I would pull them in readings for myself or readings for private clients, I never saw the yellow ones. And just with the channel in the last week and a half or so, I pulled them often. One of those readings I posted, that's at least one, maybe two. I'm trying to be judicious right now about which readings I post as I build this channel up, but I am recording more of them than I am posting. But that's one, it's always wonderful. Tarot and reading and communing with spirit in this way, I think is always wonderful. It's always revealing somehow, provides food for thought. That's another thing I think might be a little different if you haven't tuned into any of my readings yet. That's a little different in how I do things. I consider this to be a story that you're meant to hear. That for whatever reason, you're drawn to click on it, and there might be a synchronicity issue, facet going on there. But the story itself that comes out through this reading might not actually be about you, but that doesn't mean it doesn't resonate with you somehow. It's sometimes a story that doesn't have a plot that we can relate to, might have themes we can relate to, or even if it doesn't have themes that we can relate to, a pearl of wisdom might be revealed that is useful. Or we might find ourselves reacting angrily, or arguing with guidance or advice, and that lets us know that guidance isn't right. Or that kind of reaction might also let us know that we have a block there, So all different kinds of ways that whatever comes through in this reading could synchronize with your personal experience. And I think there's some kind of reason for that there, that you're here. But what that reason is very much up to your discernment. And a lot of times it's not that big. It's not that deep. These are public, collective readings. So even if the topics and themes are deep, I think it's best to take them somewhat casually, They're a little nudge from spirit, not a thump over the head. I'm giggling because I feel like some people say things like spirit doesn't knock you upside the head, and I'm like, You must be a much better person than me then. Yeah, I'm kidding. I don't know. Maybe they're not better people. Maybe they're less complicated. Maybe they're less stubborn. Who knows? Who knows? At any rate, let's throw some tarot cards down on these questions and see what do we get? What do we get? We have Dragon's Blood Nagchampa burning here on the tarot table right now, and every time I take in a deep breath, it's just so lovely. I love that scent. All right, there's a good stopping place. And we've got one falling out. I'm going to take it as a significator. What is it? The mob. Didn't the mob come out in a different reading I did recently? I'm pretty sure it did, the one that I posted. I'm speaking in these videos as if I already have a collective, but again, I think that's the way to set the intentions. It'll make things come through. All right. Okay. Wow, that's interesting that the mob card should come through because of the social networking kind of stuff. My history in learning to socialize is unusual. I'm an alien. I don't belong on this planet. I'm kidding. I totally do. I love it here. I do. I love it here. I love the contrast. It's so delicious. You wouldn't know the sweetness if you didn't know the bitterness, right? Or at least it would seem less special. Come on, Spirit. I'll show you how I pull them. That one keeps calling to me. Yeah, that's okay. Get it. Now, one thing about pulling for a spread is it is a slower, more meditative process than, for me anyways, than pulling one card at a time in a stream of consciousness. I can get downright lively that way. Depends on the vibe I'm picking up on from the jump. And also like what mood I'm in. They're not the same thing. Kind of a hidden vibe on that one. And which was the question? Aligning hopes and dreams with daily life. And the Hermit reversed. You can go your own way. You can go your own way. You can go your own way. Interesting. Okay. So the Hermit is not talking about self-isolating as much as I think there's a hesitancy to do things your own way. Interesting, because the last time I pulled the mob, I also pulled the Five of Wands, and I was like, man, those two cards in this deck vibe with each other so much for me, mostly because of the way that they're illustrated. I wonder if I need to turn down the exposure a touch here on the tabletop, since these cards are pretty bright here. I don't know if that's really an improvement. Well, this couldn't be much more synchronous with what I was saying when I pulled those first two cards. The Ace of Wands and the Page of Pentacles reversed here about, I think a collective is hesitating to start something that needs to be done, not realizing that it's kind of a stepping stone or a transitory, it's a transit to something else, because the Fool reverse is talking about hesitation here. I don't want to say I'm not a huge fan of the Fool card in this deck. I do love this deck, and I do love the interpretation that the artist intended for the Fool card in this deck. However, it's not the traditional Fool at all whatsoever, and I don't always, sometimes I take it when I'm reading from this deck traditionally, sometimes I take it as what the artist intended. But right now, because it so vibes with what we started out with here, and also because there's kind of like there's like a higher awareness, nurturing energy coming through here. That's like, we really want to nurture a higher awareness of your pattern here, or something you don't realize you're doing. Like in a real gentle, like open way, like, hey, like, oh wait, I gotta tell you, you got some spinach in your teeth, so you don't go out and, do that interview on the local news with spinach in your teeth, like that kind of thing. Like spirits got that kind of energy here. Like, we just want to let you know before you wreck yourself a little bit here, it's okay, but you got something you got to get started, and you might not notice they judge others for hesitating, for not taking a leap of faith. But you yourself are doubting that doing the thing that you need to do first is going to be worth it. Because you got to take a leap of faith that it's worth the effort, it's worth the energy, it's not a stupid waste of your time, it's not... take that leap of faith. Because even if the outcome isn't going to return on your investment in external ways, which it might really lead to big things for you. But regardless of whether it does or not, it will return internal rewards, personal development, self-awareness, things like that, which obviously will aid you on doing whatever you need to do next, because there will be more of you to work with. However, the Spirit is very clear with me here as the reader that Spirit wants you to stop looking at the external outcome of whatever this thing is. If you're resonating with this reading, then you know what the thing is for you. Stop looking at the external outcome. It might turn out to be so much more rewarding than you can know right now. It might not, but that's beside the point. The point is, take a leap of faith and do it. Now, there's apparently the way that you socialize, the way that you network is influencing whether or not you take this leap of faith. But why, I don't know. But if you're resonating with this, you probably will. So look in here, what societal messages have you received about what a social life should look like? And, we do live in a society that's very competitive. Western society has always been pretty warlike. The Abrahamic religions are themselves like kind of battle warlike religions. I mean, the book of Revelations is hilariously battle-rific, It's like Jesus is a teacher and a lover, and then all of a sudden he's a superhero. Well, that book was written like 100 years after he died in a totally different language by people who had a totally different way of thinking. So, and not only that, but the references to what was going on politically and Rome cannot be denied in the Book of Revelation. So if you happen to be a follower of the Book of Revelations and you are taking it literally, please don't. Please learn the historical context that book was written in and who it was written to influence. Like, read about why it was written that way and who wrote it and why he wanted to influence the listeners and readers of that story in the way that he did. It's very political. Some of the apocalyptic thought floating around lately it's giving me pause. I'm concerned. I am. I think that people are picking up on the energies correctly, identifying them correctly, but drawing erroneous conclusions because of thousands of years of misleading spiritual, psychological, and emotional quote-unquote insights that aren't exactly insights. Put it that way. And I leave that there. I don't know why that aside came through. It's not exactly relevant to this reading, but perhaps somebody needs to hear it. I don't know. Or not needs to hear it. I'm not here to command edicts or be the authority. I am here to encourage thought, exploration, letting go, all kinds of things. Clarity. I'm here to encourage people to find what's true for them. So in Western culture, yes, societal messaging does tell us that there is value. There is inherent value in hierarchical social structures, that there's inherent value in being on top, that we should organize ourselves, our communities, etc., in a top-down kind of way. And all of that nurtures all of that attitude, that value system. It's a part of the collective unconscious, and it is a huge contributing factor to things like excessive consumerism, treating the environment like it's the giving tree from the Shel Silverstein book, like we're just going to keep extracting from it till it dies. Of course, we can't do that. I believe the earth is alive and it has an immune system, and it will definitely kill us off before it lets us kill it. Oh, that's a story for another day. But it's true. The placing so much value on competition and domination, even in our own social circles, in our own business, professional, career lives, it's the same energy that has led to Wedico domination over the Western world, at least in this era that we're in. If you're not familiar with what Wedico is a Iroquois Algonquin belief, and there's some sociologists who adopted the term from them to describe how a value system based on ego, vanity, material acquisition, materialism, identifying the self with externalities, external appearances, all of that is what's really threatening civilization's stability right now, that Wedico energy. And like I said, some sociologists have now taken that term from those indigenous people to explain observable phenomena going on around the world in societies. It's leading to the rise of authoritarianism. It's supporting lack of reasonable regulations around technological development, around environmental impact of all kinds of things that we do. And like I said, it's in our collective unconscious. And the way that you change the collective unconscious is to change your own unconscious. Like each person's personal consciousness is a drop in a big ocean, right? And the ocean is the collective unconscious. So we can only change our own drop. But the more drops that change, eventually you hit critical mass and the whole ocean changes. And so if you're resonating with this reading, I'm sorry if I'm getting kind of all over the place, but for some reason, I think it matters. If you can really change how you not just think, but feel on an unconscious level, how you view competition versus collaboration and how those two things relate to each other. Like, when is it time to compete? When is it time to collaborate? How can we collaborate more instead of competing? You can really change your views, how you conceptualize those things on a fundamental, unconscious level. You do help change the world. And that matters. It might not seem like it matters, like you're just one little person in one big world, but it does. It matters. Everybody's drop in that collective unconscious ocean matters. Aligning hopes and dreams with daily life. And I think, doing whatever it is that you need to do next, it's going to be a part of your daily life, right? It's something that you're actually doing. And I think one of the reasons you're hesitating is because there's something about doing it your own way. Because like when I flipped the Hermit over and I saw it reversed, and I was like, I heard that song, "You Can Go Your Own Way," and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, we're talking about the dancing to the beat of your own drum type of interpretation of the Hermit here. And so with his reversal, it seems to be indicating that you might feel like you can't do this thing your own way. You might be uncertain what your own way is. And I think I'm really getting the sense that just doing the thing, just taking the leap of faith and doing the damn thing will show you that you can do it your own way. You probably don't even have any other option. It's probably the only way you can do it. And that probably has to do with that intrinsic internal reward that will come from accomplishing step one. You will have so much more of a sense of like how you do what it is that you need to do. And it's not about competition. Like, if you've got to deal with a whole lot of people to do what you want to do, like maybe you've got to get an audience. Maybe you've got to build a collective. Whatever it is. If you're going to compete, you're going to be competing with yourself, not others. I feel like, too, you might want to pay attention to how any communities or groups, social circles, subculture scene, just groupings of people, like who does and who doesn't seem to organize themselves in that hierarchical way, in that pyramid kind of structure that people tend to do with a leader and, underlings, basically. And I am uncertain whether that's human nature or not. I don't think it is, but I think a lot of us mistake that for human nature because it's so ubiquitous in our culture, but I actually think it's optional. And we do have to, but because it's so ingrained in us and we don't see it as optional, those of us who wake up and see it, we've really got to work on changing that within ourselves. Like, notice, like, when do we look up to somebody for no other reason than the fact that a whole bunch of people seem to like them and admire them, but maybe they're not even that great of a person or something like that, you know? When do we find ourselves wanting to sidle up next to somebody because they seem to have some kind of like power, clout, visibility in a group that like maybe we want to gain purchase in or navigate better? And it's not necessarily bad to do those things. It just really isn't, to, you know, get friendly with somebody whose networking abilities might be advantageous to you. This is not bringing these things up to tell you that's bad. It's bringing them up to tell you to notice them. It looks like in the past, it's just been juggling a lot, spread thin, which makes anybody a little hesitant to really throw themselves into something, to make that leap of faith. If you've been, you know, not running on empty, but running on a quarter tank for a long time, and you keep running, you're doing it, but, you know, you gotta keep stopping for gas. Yeah, it can make you a little hesitant because you might think, I'm gonna run out of gas before I finish this. That's influencing your thinking, and you know, I'm just really, I'm hearing, I'm getting you. You don't need to worry about that. You just need to jump in and start putting one foot in front of the other with whatever this is that you're hesitating to get to work on. It's the first step. You have to do it. You can't skip it. And yeah, you might not get everything out of doing this one first step, but it is just a first step. I feel like we're talking about something that you feel like it's like just one project, and you don't want to do that one project because it just seems dumb or not worth it or whatever. But it's a stepping stone. It's a step one. I don't know what it is. I'm not getting any information at all whatsoever about that. I personally am not relating to it. Like, I don't know of anything that would be like a first step for me to get involved in. But if this reading is resonating with you, then you will just certainly know what it is for you. Let's see, our last question. How your early experiences making new friends shaped how you grew to approach socializing and networking in adulthood. Oh my gosh, this is so synchronous too. So it's saying that like when you were a kid, maybe childhood, maybe early teens, when you tried to make new friends, or when you did make new friends, there wasn't a lot of collaboration going on there. You got this Three of Pentacles reversed. It's like directly bouncing off of this Five of Wands up here. This competition versus collaboration. It's just so obvious. And I mean, even little children, you know. And think about what kind of messaging like little children receive from so many people, from media and stuff, like basically telling them you're a better person if you're cool. And like, how do people know if they're cool? Well, other people admire them. They become popular. It doesn't mean they're a good person. It doesn't mean they're a smart person. It doesn't mean they're a creative person. It doesn't mean they're moral. It just means for whatever reason, they've gained some clout, you know? We've all seen it. And a lot of times with children, it's the bullies who end up being popular, you know, by the time you're like 10, 11 years old. And so if people didn't meet you where you were at and want to equally collaborate through connection, through everybody getting to contribute their opinion, their values, whatever it is that, you know, each little person brought to the table, brought to the group. You know, if there wasn't that equality, if there wasn't that collaboration, that mutual connection, which there probably wasn't, because we really don't encourage our children enough to develop those skills. And it's funny too, like when my kid was in school, when he was going to a affluent suburban school, but it was just like a regular public school, not like a special magnet program or like anything like that. Or they had this anti-bullying campaign going on, but it didn't actually teach children anything about bullying or how to not do it or what to do instead. They just celebrated, don't bully. And I'm like, but they don't know what bullying is other than it's just being mean. Like, they don't actually understand how it functions, how it creates groups and hierarchies, how, bullies end up with flag bookies, like none of that. And not only that, but they were always holding events that would encourage bullying, and they didn't even realize it. Oh, just one little example. They had a wear your favorite sports team shirt to school day. That's fine for all the kids that come from families that enjoy sports, but there are definitely plenty of families who don't, and those kids don't have a shirt to wear, so they're automatically not included in that. And then I brought it up actually with the principal. I said, well, that kind of create exclusion, like an exclusionary group of kids who are like the normal conventional kids with their sports team shirts, and then there's these other kids who, there's a lot of them they come from families who aren't into that. And I said, well, a good way to counterbalance this is we could have a wear your favorite band shirt to school, because most people like music and have a favorite band, and that might help level things out. And they were like, no, we couldn't do that. And I was like, why? You guys have music class, you have a band, why can't you do both? But they didn't want to promote that. So you see what I'm saying? There's tons of implicit messaging, and those might not be the best examples. I could probably come up with much better illustrations that prove the point, but those are what came to me just now. And point being, there is so much subtle implicit messaging that we are all bombarded with from like the time we start using language, we start talking in words, that teaches children. Socializing has a lot to do with dominance and submission, which is not true. It doesn't have to be that way at all. We can learn different skills. We can teach our children different skills from the time they start walking and talking. But we haven't, and some people are really starting to do that work and doing a good job. And I've noticed too that kids that come from families where they're starting to do that and doing a good job, they a lot of times have a lot of hard times in school socializing because the other kids aren't doing it with them. And they walk into school thinking they will be because their parents have taught them that this is the right way to be. This is the moral way to be. This is the kind way to be. And then they're not treated that way by other children, and they think it's because there's something wrong with them. Like, oh no, these kids are mean to me. Like, why don't they like me? They don't like you because they're dicks, not because there's something wrong with you, kiddo. And the reason they're dicks is because they've been taught to be dicks. I mean, a little bit of it might be genetic. Yeah, that's totally true, as came up in my reading about bullying and stuff like that the other day. But it's not all of it. There's a lot of implicit messaging. There's a lot of both from... The implicit messaging comes both from families and from society and from schools, institutions, the media. It's everywhere. It's so everywhere. And, if you have a very collaborative, connected, emotional, empathetic spirit, you're born with that. And if you started out when you were young, approaching socializing and friends with this big, big open heart, ready to collaborate, communicate, connect, mediate, all that kind of good stuff. And you just didn't get to cross paths with other humans like you. That could really shape on an unconscious level how you approach socializing and networking into your adulthood, for sure. And so we're talking about, I did need to turn down that exposure on the cards. Man, I'm going to get better at the digital video aspects of doing this. I promise. At any rate, take a moment and think about how these positions are interacting. I'm seeing this Two of Pentacles here. Vibing with both our Fool and our Five of Wands here. See, in this triangular shape. So I think it's contributing to your hesitancy to take a leap of faith. You're worried that you'll run out of energy because you've juggled things so long working on that quarter tank, you know. I think you've probably taken a leap of faith before and had it not come out in the 3D the way you were hoping. But I bet you learned and grew more from it than might strike you at first because there was something painful about it. And I bet you, too, that you have found people's social hierarchies, their competitive ego games and stuff and socializing to just be exhausting. Like, it's just tiring. Or maybe it's not exhausting for you. I might be projecting a little bit there. But draining, at least. And it's contributing to your hesitancy. But there's also this. The Hermit's also given, like, should I lay low in a room full of strangers? Everybody's a stranger to an extent, you know. Even if you know them. And knowing that is liberating because you can just be who you are. You can just, and sometimes how to express who you are can be a little bit confusing. You know, even if you really know who you are, knowing how to put you out there is maybe not so clear. And that's trial and error. You know, you had to start somewhere. And the Spirit's very much like, this is how you deal with that. You dance to the beat of your own drum. And that helps make everything less draining. Be present with however you do whatever this is that you need to do, that you need to get started on. And please, please, please don't let... I want to say they're like social traumas, you know? Please don't let it hold you back. You have potential in these areas. Seeing these both reversed, the Five of Wands and the Three of Pentacles, is making me feel like... And the Fool, they're all very like, you can turn... And the Hermit, they're all very much... Sometimes reversals can mean different things, but especially when I see them collected like this, it's like they're saying, like, these are all here for you to turn around. You have so much to turn around, and that's not a burden. That's an opportunity. Like, you get to. You blossom. You blossom from that. And I think reminding yourself over and over that Spirit is like, you can dance to the beat of your own drum to do this. You can do this your way. That's going to be really empowering for you to just remind yourself of that as many times as you need to keep pushing through, to do this thing that you need to get started and are hesitating on. And it'll all come out fine. And this was an incredibly long reading. Oh my goodness. 55 minutes, 43 seconds. That's all right. 54 bicycles on the wall. Very cool. Nice. Yeah, I think that's good. Well, you know what? It's been a long reading, but I'm still going to pull some final words. Let's see what we get here. Why not? Why not? Hopefully this long reading is good companionship for you while you clean the house or drift off to sleep at night or cook dinner, whatever it is that you like to do while you're listening to your tarot. You might even be watching the screen, seeing some cool pictures. Oh, I love this one. I feel like this reading is such a reading for neurodivergent people, especially with this the stuff about the social hierarchies, because folks on the spectrum, we don't quite grasp social hierarchies. Like, I can't tell you how much trouble I've had with bosses, not because I don't respect them, but just because to me they're just another person. Like, I don't see anything special about them just because they're a boss and I'm not. I'm like, I might not know how to do something better than you do. And I don't mean that to be rude. It's just that it doesn't occur to me that there's anything special about them. Let's see. There's no such thing as a know-it-all, just learn-it-alls. Some people connect through sharing knowledge. It isn't about correcting others. It's about passion for truth and ideas. Dismissing the exchange of ideas isn't wisdom. It's insecurity. I mean, I guess there are really know-it-alls, like people who always want to act like they know more than you do, but I usually don't read information being shared that way. Partially because I don't tend to, like, I don't notice hidden intentions a lot. I can get vibes for sure. I feel the energy in what people are saying, but I don't always understand the intention. That's hard to describe. Oh, cool. Timing is important right now. Get started on this. If you hung in here for this whole entire reading, it is clearly resonating with you, and there is something you got to get started. And it's like, the time is now. Don't wait. Oh, cool. I don't know what that's about, and it's probably not for every person who watches this, but if there's somebody out there you had on your mind, they got you on your mind too, or they got you on their mind too. Cool. Very cool. That's nice. Well, it's nice for whoever that's for. I just heard in my head, fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. And if you could survive to 105. That one's come through in readings a few times for me. I guess Spirit just wants me to remind people to feel eternally youthful. To remind you there is no beginning and no end to time. There is no beginning and no end to you. You'll always be here in some form or another. Or maybe not here on this planet, but you'll exist. Maybe not even in this dimension. But unlikely connections, sometimes the best fit seems to defy conventional logic. Huh. Interesting. So, there might be somebody in a social group that some of our collective has been, I want to say, avoiding. It's kind of making me think that for some people that this reading is resonating with, and this is timeless too. Maybe nobody will watch it at first, but like a ton of people will watch it months from now. Who knows? But I kind of get the sense that for some people, the person you're thinking about is thinking about you also thing is kind of like like someone you don't like is thinking about you also, like, I don't like that person. But it turns out that you actually could work really well together, collaborate really well together, whether that's for like a, friendship, romance, work connection, whatever. So that's funny. And then for some other people, it's probably like a person that you're thinking fondly of, you would like to be better friends with, somebody you just met who's like, oh, I think they're pretty cool. like hang out with them some more, you know, like that kind of thing. So there's potential, there's openings, there's doorways here in socializing, and there's stuff going on from your history, from I think developmental time periods, childhood, teenage years. And this isn't so much coming from your family. This is from societal messaging. This is from more like group settings when you were a kid, like how other children acted, not so much like family dynamics. And that kind of stuff, how you've related to groups, to the mob, you know, to the amorphous, like, oh, there's people out there, you know, throughout your life. I think is influencing you to just like turn a blind eye and not even think about, I don't know, whoever those people happen to be in your life, you know. But there's somebody in there, in that group that's, or that you could, there's somebody out there for you to make a connection with that, you'll reach, you'll contact, you'll connect with somehow by taking down that wall you've got built here between yourself and socializing on like a group level. Now that part of this reading, I can relate to that. I probably need to work on that too. It's hard when you don't belong on this planet, though. You know, the humans. I'm kidding. I love the humans, but they also drive me crazy. I want to be a bonobo, not a chimp. We're so related to both of them, you know. I don't know. There's certain things about bonobos I don't think I can keep up with. If you know anything about bonobos, you know why that's funny. And if you don't, go look it up and laugh. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Our lives are just a series of moments all strung together. And you just spent several moments with me, and I consider that an honor. And I so hope that you come back and spend some more time with me again in the future. And I will still consider that such an honor. And until next time, I hope that, I hope you have a wonderful life and a wonderful time, and that all the stuff that came up to work on really helps you move forward. Anyways, see you next time. Thanks for watching.